All right, welcome to another episode of James and the Giant Economy. Today we're going to talk about oil, black gold, Texas tea, baby. And I'm going to be representing Croft Houston because it is laundry day. So today we're going to go over how oil works. I want to help you build your knowledge base and understanding of how the process of pulling oil out of the ground in the shale regions work, and the importance of constant exploration. All right, so let's start by saying the U.S. uses 20 million barrels a day on average of oil for all of its electricity needs, or all of its energy needs. So this is fueling your car to work. This is planes, everything we use energy for, right? We produce 1 to 2 million per day of oil, barrels of oil. So I know what you're saying. You're like, James, we use 20, we produce 11 or 12. The math, it doesn't work out. And you're right. We are a net energy importer, right? So what does that mean? So that means other nations produce more energy than they use, and so they sell that surplus, right? And so the U.S. buys it and barters with it and everything like that, right? So we are, in a sense, if we want to keep our living situation the same, our living standards the same as is right now, if you want to be able to get in your car and just drive anywhere, if you want to be able to book a plane flight and it not cost 4 times what it does right now, then we have to constantly import energy from other nations. Okay, that's an important part, and we're going to talk about that in the end. But let's go over how do we get this stuff out of the ground. All right, so first thing that's going to happen once an area is identified as having oil in it, right, or oil that is worth explorating and worth pulling out, the energy company, the exploration, or E&P as it's called in the industry, they're going to set a proposal out. They're going to say, hey, we are proposing this many wells in this area, et cetera, kind of like a cover letter in a sense. Then they're going to file a permit, right? Government has to do with everything. So just like permitting a house before you build it, you have to permit an oil well. Okay, depending on the state, if the state is energy friendly or if it is not, this permit will go through within 2 weeks or less to 2 years and everything in between, depending on the state, if they're energy friendly or not. This is another reason why I invest in certain states, because I don't have to wait for 2 years for profits. Anyhow, once they get the permits done, they start building out the pad sites and infrastructure. What a pad site is basically just the site, like the box that the oil and gas, the drill, the rig, and everything will be standing on, right? So they have to clear off all the grass. They put gravel on. They're going to put some cattle guards around things to make sure that just random cows don't come walking on the drilling rig. Okay, that is an issue, especially because in a lot of places that we found oil under, right now they're just used for farmland, right? It's just free cattle grazing. And states that are very energy friendly, what will happen is that the energy company will do the permit and everything like that, and they actually have to pay for the surface damages for the time that they're using it and more to the landowner, right? So there's a sense where when we were on our field trip and learning about all these things, one of the things that was mentioned is this oil exploration is actually bringing a ton of wealth to these farmers, right? If they have, and it's almost like they have another source of income that's coming in, to where if they have like a bad crop season, or they lose their cattle for something like a virus or just frost or something like that, or some sort of mishap or animal attack, they have this currency coming in from oil and gas companies drilling on their land. So it was actually quite amazing that these oil companies are transforming the lives of these farming communities. All right, so once you get the pad site, the infrastructure, basically everything you need to start drilling, the roads and everything to it, then what you're going to do is you're going to have a drilling rig come and drill the well. Right now, this is why the rig count is very important in the US, right? This is why a lot of people follow rig counts, because Rigs drill holes for wells, and then wells produce oil, right? So if you have less rigs to drill less wells, that's going to affect the production, and it's going to affect it big time, and we're going to get to that in the end. This will all come together at the end. So you get the rig out there, right? The rig is basically, it's going to be that big standing thing that you see, let's 30, 40, 50 feet in the air, okay? That's going to be what drills it. And in that, you're going to have a rig crew, a rig team, some roughnecks come through, and they're going to start to drill it and case it and everything like that. What a casing is once you drill the hole, you're going to put a giant metal, cylindrical metal casing around it and cement it in. The purpose of that is to make sure if there's any slight land movement or any pressure differences that it just doesn't fly everywhere, right? So what it does is the casing contains and make sure everything runs smoothly while you're drilling and producing the oil, okay? Now, once you have it drilled, the casing once you have the drill and the casing sealed and everything like that, and you can put the drill in, you can start to frack it, okay? So fracking is a new technology. I think it's only been around about 10 years or so, and I know there are a lot of hard feelings about fracking depending on who you're talking to, but one thing to know is fracking has come a long way since the beginning. I know there's some parts in the north, that some communities that were heavily affected by it, which is understandable, the new technology, and it's sad to, well, I won't talk much about it, but my point is this: fracking has come a long way since then, right? That was the beginning of fracking. There's a lot of mistakes made, but as technology and people have gotten better and we've used it more, fracking has gotten a lot more accurate, more pinpoint to it. So what fracking is basically you're going to send a large amount of pressure down to blow it out. Kind of like think about Capri Suns, right? If you're old enough to remember those, if not, go pick one up at the store. They're great. So with Capri Suns, when you needed that last 10% of the juice in the Capri Suns, what did you do, right? Well, you took the straw and you blew into it, you put a ton of pressure into it, and then all of a sudden, when you stopped blowing, that pressure wanted to equalize, right? And once it equalized, it brought the liquid through the straw back to your mouth. And so that was a little trick as a kid. If we had the last 10-20% of our Capri Suns, we could just, and then it would just come straight at us. Fracking is a very similar way, but in the fact that when you were pushing all that pressure down to run these oil wells and gas wells, it's going to make it fly back up and cause a lot of pressure, and that pressure will push all the oil and gas back up. It's actually an amazing technology, and it's the only reason why the U.S. is producing oil now, or at least a decent amount of oil. So once the frack team gets out there, then they frack it, and then they will start to pump oil, and then that's when the profits come out, right? That's when we start to get paid and everything. Now, once it's fracked, there's going to be a high output in that well's first month or two of the well's life, right? So because there's so much pressure, right? So you're going to get the most oil out of that well in the first 1 to 2 months of its lifetime, right? And then it's going to start to decline a little bit, and then after about 18 months or so, give or take, the decline curve starts to level out, and you're only going to have a 2% less per year, or some 2 to 4%, something like that, something very nominal. Okay, so my point is that so that's how oil works. But the point of this video is this: when we first put a well in, right, we get the most oil out of that well in the beginning. Okay, we get probably a good 10 to 15, 20% of the oil for the next year or two out of that in the first month. I mean, it's just a huge amount, right? And so we get this big bump in oil, and then it kind of slowly goes down as it produces, okay? If we in the US are using 20 million barrels of oil a day on average, okay? and we desire stable gas prices or stable energy prices, then we have to constantly keep exploring and getting new wells online, right? Because every well has diminishing returns. It goes down and declines, and it just starts and keeps going because the pressure is lost. In fact, for the first few years of a well's life, there's actually nobody there. Like when we pulled up to one, it was so cool to see because there was nobody at the well. It was like a crock pot. It was just sit it and forget it, and then go and check every once in a while. In fact, one of the guys that was working for the company pulled up, and he was, his responsibility to drain the oil out of the reservoir, and then go send it to to get it not manufactured, but to get it processed and created into what we can use for gasoline, jet fuel, etc. So the big expense for these things is really creating the wells, and then once they're going, they just sit and they produce. It's actually really, really cool to see, right? But they all have a decline curve. This is just how it works. So if we're getting these little bumps of oil, that's great, but if we stop exploring, our oil streams will always steadily decline, right? And we will have less oil and gas to use and produce, and that will create a spike in prices. So my point is this: if we want to continue to have steady energy prices in the US, we need more and constant exploration, right? Not only that, but again, we are a net importer of energy currently, right? We use 20 million barrels a day, we produce 11 or 12, which means we are dependent on other nations for our energy needs, right? Let's get a little this is the point of the story where I say I get political but not political. Let's get political. I don't want to be political, but let's get political. How about that? Right now, the 3 top oil producing countries are the US, Russia, and OPEC plus, right? And really Saudi is the big one for OPEC plus. They're the big kid in that playpen, if you get my drift. So right now, with our current administration, Russia and the OPEC plus doesn't really like the US. They don't. They are not our friends. And so they are combining together to cut production, right, which is going to raise gas prices quite a bit. And there's not much we can do about it because we are energy dependent on them. Okay, we're not drilling a ton, we're not even going offshore or anything like that. In fact, we are restricting drilling right now. And so this is going to cause gas prices and oil prices to go up quite a bit, especially as they continue to pull back on it, right? There's a sense where we could see in the future, just like in the 70s and 80s, an oil crunch. There was a big oil embargo from OPEC plus or the Middle East, right? And they just cut American oil off. They cut the supply of oil off to America, or greatly diminished it. And you saw everything from, this is if your parents or your grandparents remember this, you would have lines at the gas station, and they would just sell until they could sell out, and you would have limits on how much you could buy, and it was just a mess. God, it was a mess. It was not a time that you'd want to live through, and so that could be coming again, because as Americans, we are dependent on other nations for our oil. If they say, hey, we don't want you to have oil, if they say, hey, you're going to have less oil, there's not much we can do about it with our current administration, the current exploration, right? It gets worse. Because the current administration has kind of stepped on the neck of oil and gas and exploration companies, they've stopped investing in exploration. They've stopped investing in finding more, better, cheaper ways to produce oil. Think of it like this. If you're a teacher and you're in your 2nd or 3rd year, whatever, of teaching, and the government comes out and says, hey, in the next 4 or 5 years, we're just going to have kids learn at home through YouTube and through Zoom and everything like that. We are not going to have we're going to have programs set up to help kids with their learning. We're not going to need teachers at all. Well, what's going to happen? Well, the teachers that are currently teaching are going to say, I'm going to start looking for another job. I'm not going to have one in 4 or 5 years, right? So that's going to cause that's going to pull a lot of teachers out. We're going to have a shortage right there. Secondly, what's going to happen? Every kid that's in college that says, hey, I'm going to be a teacher and I'm supposed to graduate in 2 years or a year or 3 or whatever, they're going to look at that and say, well, I kind of want to have a job when I graduate, and teaching is not viable anymore, or I don't want to have a job for 2 years as a teacher, then find something else. I'm going to switch majors. Okay? So you have compounding shortage. None of that, but all the kids that are in high school that have dreamed or thought of being teachers, well, they're just going to say, by the time I graduate college or maybe even high school, we're not going to have any teachers. So they're not going to go into teaching. And so you have this huge supply issue of available teachers, of people in the workforce, right? Of human capital, if you will, of teachers. And not only that, but the teachers that are in teaching, they're not going to go get their master's to be a better teacher. No. So you kind of derail the whole thing, right? There's always going to be some teachers, some people that teach because they love it, and they're like, hey, I'm going to do this because I love it, and this is just what my calling is, and if I don't have a job in 2 or 3 years, so be it, right? I'll figure out it then. And so you're going to still have that, but you're going to have a huge supply issue of teachers, and that's going to affect students and families and everything else. The same thing is happening in the oil and gas industry. The current administration is putting its foot on the neck of oil and gas. They'll say they aren't, but you look at the real, you look into it, and they are. And and they're saying, hey, by 5 years, we're going to go all renewables. We're not going to need oil and gas companies. And so, what is a natural reaction to it? Well, we're going to pull back. We're not going to invest as much. We're not going to spend billions of dollars looking for different places to explore or how to drill these things better. We're just going to do the minimum in a sense, right? We're just going to be profitable, and we're going to have to try and wait this out, right? And while they wait it out, they've regressed 4 years or more. I think Pat says these things take time, right? There is even the roughnecks, the frac teams, there is a glut of a supply shortage. It's not glut is too much, but there's a huge supply shortage in frac teams, in piping and everything. And so it's only really going to the big boys, right? You might say, hey, we're ready, we send a frac team. You look at the schedule like, it's going to take 3 months to get them out there. What are you talking about? We need them today. And it's just a human capital, right? There's a lack of supply in that. So my point is the whole oil and gas industry, because of what's happened in the last few years with U.S. presidents and everything, and the rules they've been having, they're behind. And they are so far behind that even if we get a new president, the thoughts are it's going to take 12, 24, maybe 36 months or more to undo this. Because this is the way that the government thinks things happen, right? They think that you can just order on Amazon. In other words, and it comes down tomorrow. And things like infrastructure and rebuilding things take a lot of time. So in other words, the government is in the mindset of, hey, if it takes one woman 9 months to have a baby, then we'll just get 9 women pregnant and have a baby in a month. Problem solved. That's just not the way it works. So, and we're going to wake up to a very rude awakening of that, and energy prices will soar. In my opinion, 60 is the new low, and it's just uphill from there. So time will tell, but this is the importance of constantly drilling and finding new oil exploration, right? Because it gives us the oil that we need. We get that giant pop on the front end, okay? And as the decline curves of those wells that were drilled, months ago happen, we have new wells coming online to keep the supply popping up, right? And that's just how it goes. And as America, we need to get off. We need to be energy independent. If not, we'll be at the mercy of those countries that hate us, and that's not a good place to be in. But at least you can profit from it.